How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Jose, aka TheNYCGeek, aka TNG, aka your Elden Lord, returning to you at the turn of the tide.
And I come back to you now, at the turn of the tide.
Aka the guy who is back, not only from vacation, where I went to Dragon Con last week, which was awesome. Dragon Con was amazing, was fantastic. So many great cosplayers there. My wife and I were able to get into cosplay. She hasn't cosplayed in years, and I found a cosplay that I loved. But I'm also back from illness. I caught Zorona, which was not awesome, and a chest infection here, which is made me tired. It sapped a lot of my energy, but I'm recovering. And thank you for all the well wishes that I did receive. Thank you so much. That does mean a lot. And I'm also sorry because you might see there's a little bit of a maintenance thing. Like my nanos are gone. That's because they're in a pile over there. My lighting off and whatnot. We're doing a little bit of restructuring around the room, so I just turned some things off. I got to put the shelves up, and I turned on my ring light, which I haven't turned off in like half a year. So I am sorry if there's any bad lighting or any of that. I do apologize for that. Sorry about that. But I wanted to talk today. About 3 shows in particular. I know I'm late. I'm late because, like I said, I've been talking about some of these things on Twitter, but I want to put a video up. I want to get back to streaming. But today's video is titled The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And these 3 shows each touch on that, okay? There's one that's good, there's one that's bad, and one that's really fucking ugly, okay? Really ugly. So I want to start off on the positive note. On the positive, the good right here, because God damn, better than good. House of the Dragon just released episode 4, and this show has been an absolute treat so far. It is firing on all cylinders. The consistency, the plot, the characters, the dialogue, the acting, the costumes, the set piece, all of it's been stellar. All of it. Episode 3, I didn't get a chance to talk of it because that one came out when we were at the con. Episode 3 was my favorite so far. That was the one that King Viserys was having the feast and the hunt for Aegon's second name day. Man, the him and Rhaenyra are those 2 are my favorite characters right now of the show. And I know Rhaenyra is acting like a petulant brat, especially in this episode 4 that came out. But I'm you want her to mature. For me, I want her to mature. I want her to root. I'm rooting for her, even though yes, I know the stuff that happens in the books. I'm still separating the book from here for now, in terms of what may happen, because we don't know. I'm sure they're not going to change that much, but I'm still rooting for her. And I'm like, come on, man, Rhaenyra, your dad's trying to help you out, and she keeps like being a brat. But I'm still like, I want her to do better. I'm like, stop, just fucking pick a guy. But the actor for the king, Paddy Constantine. Holy shit, man. This dude is I know that people are talking about Matt Smith as with Damon. And yes, Matt Smith is killing it. But to me, I think the real star has been the king. He's been in there more. He's just so good. It's been such an absolute treat so far. And I loved episode 3 because episode 3 had a lot of that like plot and intrigue, like when the women are speaking about this, and and that guy sits down and he's kind of like listening in, and then the stuff with that other Lannister, and it's just, I love that kind of stuff. I love the subterfuge. I love it. I think to me that's what made Game of Thrones the actual hit that it was, the actual Game of Thrones, or the game for the throne, really. And that to me, I like that scheming and the sword. I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love action. I do. Episode 3 had like 15-20 minutes. The last 15-20 minutes were awesome action. But if you tell me, what am I going to like more? Action or, like plot and intrigue and stuff? I'm always going to pick plot and intrigue. Always. So, but episode 3 had both of them. And episode 4 continues. And, it shows more of it in episode 4 of Daemon's duplicitous actions. Like the fact that we don't know what his motivations are. Did he really do what he like? Does he want Rhaenyra just for what she, because she's an express ticket to the throne, or does he want her beyond that? Because even in episode 1, when she was in the air, there was still that attraction to her. So it's just, I love the fact that I can sit there and I have this gray area that the show isn't telling me, it's showing me, and I can sit there with this gray area of like, you know, well, what do you think this person's motivation was? Do you think they did this because of this? It reminds me of Better Call Saul, which I never got a chance to talk about how amazing that show was. I think it's the great. It has dethroned for me. Hi, I use dethroned, pun intended. It has dethroned Breaking Bad as my favorite show of all time. But in Better Call Saul, there's this moment where you're like, well, why do you think this character did this? Oh, I could see why this. Like, you could talk to your friend. I talk to my friend Josh all the time, and I'm like, I think he did this because of that. And, he might say, well, I think he did this because of this. And we're both like, we can see each other's view. I love that you can do that with House of the Dragon too, with some of the characters. Especially right now, Rhaenyra, like she lied. She lied and lied on her mother's memory. Like, that's pretty bad. I mean, I guess she didn't fully lie because I have to rewatch exactly what she swore to. Did she swear that nothing happened or that they didn't go through with the coupling? Like, it's really, really good show. And I can't, my only concern for the show is when they do, when they do the big time jump, which I think the show has been doing really good so far too. They've been handling the passing of time really natural. They've been like, hey, look, it started here. Hey, it's been 6 months. Hey, it's been 2 years. Now it's been so and so months after that. Like, they've been doing really good with that. It doesn't feel like jarring at all where you're like, wait, hold on, stop. No, not at all. And it's just more, and they say it subtly, but they say it like, like they'll show the first episode. First episode happens, and then the second episode, we see that the new queen is pregnant. She's like, it's been, and she'll be like, it's 6 months and 3 months away. Yeah. And it's like they drop it here and there without giving you a fucking massive timeline in your face because like they think the audience are idiots. And then here they're like, oh, we're celebrating Aegon's name day. So now or his second name day. So now hey, it's been 3 months since we last saw that and 2 years after. Like it's good storytelling, more show, don't tell, and they're doing so well with that. My only concern, like I said, is when they do the big jump, the time jump. But I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? This show's supposed to be like maybe 3 seasons, and if they cut it here, maybe 1 or 2 more episodes after, where we will not get rain, where we will no longer have Millie Alcock. I think that we will be okay. I think that yes, people will still be attached to those actresses, but they'll be like, hey, we've got 2.5 seasons now of these other actresses, so I'm fine with that. I think they're gonna do good. Is it possible that they can drop the ball in some other? Of course, clearly, no other franchise has showed dropping the ball more than Game of Thrones. But I think right now that they're showing that they're being scrutinized far more for that, and they're like, you know what, people are watching us because we fucked it up before. They're scrutinizing everything even more so. So we need to make sure we can't be just at this level. We have to be even higher to make up for it. And that's cool. That's cool. I think this is so far the best TV right now that's for me that I'm watching, the best show that I'm currently watching, because Better Call Saul just finished. But this is so far the most entertaining thing on TV. So this is the good. This is the good. Now, go to the bad. And the bad, what's the bad? The bad continues to be She-Hulk. And this show is really bad. This is the worst thing in the MCU so far. And more than just the show itself, that twerking thing, oh my God. I wasn't here. So like I said, I was on vacation when that came out. That twerking thing was horrible. Oh my God. Like, it's like, who the fuck is this? And I don't think I said it before, but I think I need to start being a little harsher. I know. I need to be a little harsher because this show's a piece of shit. And I have listed multiple reasons why I've done a fucking episode breakdown. I've given counter examples of actual strong female characters, some of which are attorneys. And Wexler from Better Call Saul is a fucking, and this is where this show, somebody say, oh, it's not fair to come. Yes, it is. If you say you're going to be a legal procedural show, if that's going to be your premise, we're a lawyer show, then I'm going to fucking rip you apart and compare you to a better lawyer show. Okay. But, it's time that I don't just call out just this disaster of a show. Because this show is not doing the MCU any favors. Not. But the shills, there are some people, even on YouTube, that I am surprised are sucking this show's dick. They really are. And it's just I mean, they're giving this show's like sevens and eights and even more. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you on? What the fuck are you on? Where in the fuck is this show a 7, which is good? Where in this show is it a 6, which is above average? Let me explain that again. Excuse me. A 5 is an average show. A 6 and a 7 are not average. That means 6 is above average. A 7 is a good. So where in the hell are you coming out with that? Because I've listed why I think this show isn't just a 2 or a 1. Why I think it's like a fucking 0. I did that on my episode 2 review, where it's a 0 because it is fundamentally flawed at its very core. Which is, supposed to be a depiction of the character of She-Hulk. This character is nothing like She-Hulk. It doesn't have any of her charm. It doesn't have her wit, her personality. It barely has her powers right. This isn't a She-Hulk show. There are glimpses here and there where it might have existed as a She-Hulk show, and we could judge it on that if it wasn't being handled by a competent team of, if it was being handled by a competent team of writers instead of a bunch of idiots. But it's not. So if this isn't a She-Hulk show, what the hell is it? Because it's a 0 as a She-Hulk show. It's a big goose egg as a She-Hulk show. So is it a legal procedural show? Not by any stretch of the imagination. Hell fucking no, because then it really is in comparison to Better Call Saul. Or is it a comedy? No, it's not a comedy either. Because if you want to say, okay, it's a comedy, then it's not hitting those marks either. So where? I just want to know how the hell anyone can sit there and give this show a 6 or a 7 and put their name on that number, because I stand by the score I give this show. I stood by the score I give this show, by the score I give Halo, these type of shows, and what I'm giving next, I stand by. I don't sit on the fence. I don't mince my words. That's one thing I will always give you here. What I truly feel on something. I won't sit there and shit on a show, list all the faults with it, no pluses, and then give it a score that marks it as above or even good or great. Like, no, you're not getting that from me. So that's the bad. You got in the good, House of Dragon. Got in the bad, which is She-Hulk, and now we in the ugly. And let me tell you something. Let's get to the ugly, because this show is terrible on a level that not even She-Hulk can comprehend. She-Hulk is like a planet level of awful, right? It's like right here. And in comparison to the star level of suck that is Rings of Power. Rings of Power, this show is our worst nightmares imagined. I mean, yes, can it always get worse? Absolutely. They could, I don't know. They could have somebody defecate on screen. They could defecate through a sunroof. But okay, let me say this. because I think some people need to understand. Get past the constant sweeping landscape camera shots because that's all the show has going for it. That's it. It has beautiful, like beautiful landscapes, beautiful vistas. Like you're like, wow, I want to go visit there, like they would in Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. And it has a few nice set pieces. It does. I really like the dwarven mines a lot. That's it. That's it. The costumes are meh. They're meh. Some of them are like, oh, that's nice. I could see that. Some of them are really bad. Some of them are really bad. And look, I am no medieval historian. I always say I wish I was like Shad over on Shadiversity, who you guys should, by the way, check out. Awesome. And he knows this sort of stuff, right? This is what he does. The man built a castle for his kids. He built a castle. He knows medieval stuff. Okay, he knows armor and he knows weapons and he knows combat and he knows his shit. And I'm not him. And even I, with my novice eyes, with what do my elven eyes see?
Legolas, what do your elf eyes see?
I can tell you that some of these costumes just look cheap as fuck. Look at Elendil's armor. Elendil's armor in episode 3. Yo, dude, that looked like it was shit plastic. Like, that was like some Party City level stuff. And this show is suffering from so much more than that, okay? It almost feels like it is intentionally being made this bad to shit on Tolkien's legacy or their attempt to tarnish Tolkien's legacy. And I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't because even Amazon Studios can't afford $1 billion bomb for the sake of the message. The message. I need to get like a megaphone so whenever I go, the message. But this show is that bad. It feels that no, not bad. That ugly. It is so inherent. It's so flawed. It's so boring. It is so lifeless, devoid of any of the passion that Peter Jackson and the amazing cast and crew poured into the Lord of the Rings trilogy. There is none of that here. Only cheap knockoffs. Bootleg Frodo and bootleg Sam. I can't stand the fucking Harfoots. I hate these fucking Harfoots are just horrible. Get this shit out of here. Not Gandalf. This fucking Gandalf character who that's who it's gonna be because this show has to be so on the fucking nose with everything. That's who it's gonna be. You got wannabe Legolas and of course horrendous Carindriel because this is not Galadriel. It is not. It is not. None of these characters are accurate because none of the world is. None of it. This is what happens. This is the problem. When you take a multi-millennia tale, a tale that spans thousands of years, okay? And you try to time compress it, adding characters that aren't necessary or wouldn't have existed at this time or don't exist. You alter characters so fundamentally that they no longer appear as their original counterparts in any way, shape, and form. And then you push it through the show media and you present it to actual fans, and we're like, fucking garbage out of here. This out of here. You get this garbage of a show that can't hold a torch. A torch. Not even can't even hold a candle to the masterpiece that were the trilogy films, let alone the actual novels by J.R.R. Tolkien. This, I do want to put one little note that I had left for myself. The only two characters that I have given a shit about, and I would care to actually see back on screen, are Prince Durin and Princess Disa, the dwarves. Putting aside the comments that the actress has said, like I don't give a fuck about what I'm just talking about the characters. Those are the only two characters I could give a flying fuck about. Everyone else in the show is boring, useless, annoying. Just get the fuck out. Oh my God, man, this thing is so bad. This show has 3 episodes so far. We are almost halfway. Because what is it? 8 episodes, I believe. 8 episodes. So we are almost on the half, and it is going nowhere. Nowhere. It is the most expensive television show ever made, and it looks like bad cosplay half the time. And I just came from Dragon Con. So let me tell you, I saw some amazing cosplayers out there that can put this $500 million show to shame. How? How? And the absolute greatest problem with this show is its main character, Galadriel. And I'm typing up because I want to make sure I have an exact quote here. But it's Galadriel because she is nothing like the real Galadriel. I know that Gary from Neurotic has called her Guy Ladriel, and I've seen that. I like that. I like to call her Karen Driel because that's all she is. She acts like a Karen. I want to see the High King. I want to see the Queen. Dude, calm the fuck down. You just got here. Who the hell are you? And then, she's just not acting like what really Galadriel is. She acts like a whiny, petulant, self-important brat of a Mary Sue character who is completely unlikable. And I'm sorry, but her actress is not good either. I'm sorry. Not in this. Not in this. She has only shown one stupid, angry look this entire time. With her lip quivering like I'm barely holding on to my rage. I want to talk to a manager. That's where her face has been this whole time, except for that creepy ass smile that she had when she was on the horseback. This is no Galadriel. This is not the being of unearthly beauty, which, by the way, none of the elves here have felt very elvish. It doesn't. I'm reminded of when we are introduced to elves in Lord of the Rings, in Fellowship of the Rings, right? When we are introduced to Arwen, and it's like, yo, you're seeing like an angel appear before you. You know what I mean? When we get to see Rivendell, and this is a place untouched, unsullied by man. When we see, the elves when we see Galadriel, and then you see this. I'm so reminded of that amazing thing where she's like, you would have a queen as beautiful and terrifying as the dawn, where she's just like fucking, like, instead of a dark lord, you would have a queen. Like, she's just so stunning. Like, she's supposed to be this ethereal beauty, the very pinnacle of femininity, and they have taken that, they stripped that out, and she's so stunning. This is something that I'm reminded of as I delve more into it. She's so stunning that Gimli, who hated elves, in the beginning of the movie, it's shown that he hates elves, and that he talks about how she's a witch, and it's said that anyone who sees her falls under her spell, and he falls under her spell because he doesn't realize, he's thinking when he first says this, he says this out of a place of malice, or rather he's insulting her, he's calling her a witch. He doesn't realize that it's her beauty itself, and he falls under the same spell. And he talks about how, he asks her for a gift, and she says, she commands him. And I'm remembering this in the book. And there was if you watch the extended editions, you can get this, you get a little bit of it as well, where he asks for her hair, and she gives him three locks, 3 strands, I should say, 3 strands of her hair. And Galadriel, like that's a big thing to get even a single strand of her hair, because I'm reminded that Feanor, and I hope I said that correctly, the person who created the Silmarils in Lord of the Rings, who they mentioned in episode 3, not in Lord of the Rings, I should say, in the Silmarillion, Feanor, who created the Silmarils, asked Galadriel for a strand of her hair because her hair she's just so resplendent in her beauty, is like, you're just like, whoa, shit. And she said no. She told him, buzz off, bro. She didn't say it like that, but he said no. He asked her like 3 times, and she's like, no, man, get the fuck, said no. And she gave Gimli not just 1, but 3, because she was so humbled by the sincerity of his request because she had asked him. She was giving boons to everybody, and he didn't want it. He's like, I just let me look at you and I'll be happy. And he says, no, dude, tell me what the hell do you want? And he says, just give me a strand of your hair. And she's like, well, what are you gonna do with it? And she hears the sincerity in his response, and not only does she give him a strand, she gives him three. And I'm just reminded of how incredible of a gift that is. And you don't get that from this Galadriel. You don't get that because instead she says this line to Elendil in episode 3 where she's like, she takes out her knife and she's like, who is this mortal who speaks to me as if he has the slightest idea who I am? It's like, shut up. Shut up. And then, of course, throughout the there's a scene where we have to see Galadriel. Oh, the hero Galadriel. They're doing like a puppet play. The hero Galadriel, look at her. And she's the. I was like, dude, this thing is so on the nose. It's so like, get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? That Galadriel's like the superhero? Do you get? It's like, dude, fuck off, man. We get it. She's your Mary Sue. Rings of Power. We understand. Terrible character. Your show sucks. You should probably feel ashamed of having made the show, but people like you haven't, and I say people, I mean studios like you have no shame. You don't feel shame when you piggyback off of others' works. You don't, because you're uncreative hacks. That's all you are. That's why this show is The Ugly, because you can't make your own original stuff. You can't make your own stuff. You have to piggyback off of tokens. And for those that sit there, right? Those that are sitting there and they're like, oh, you're just the purest. Yeah. No, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I mean, I've said how much I love the trilogy, and those aren't one-for-one adaptations. Duh. So it's not a coming from a purist standpoint, even though if you want to say that's where I'm coming from, sure. If that's what helps you go to sleep at night. Where the difference is, you can see, is when Peter Jackson was making the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and he has said that, and I've played this clip before, where he was talking about how when they were making this movie, they were not trying to put in any of their baggage. They didn't want to put in anything of theirs, nothing. They were trying to make this Tolkien's work. They were not trying to put a mirror to today's society and today's issues. No. He's like, no. That's allegory. No. That's something Tolkien hated. We're not trying to do that. We are trying to tell the story that Tolkien told as best as we can. Now, we may have to take out a few things here and there. Like, we may have to take out Tom Bombadil. We may have to change a few things here and there to better fit a story. The fact that we're telling it as a movie and we only have X amount of time to tell it, but the core of it will still be Tolkien's work. That is why those trilogies, or rather, that is why that trilogy is held in such high regard, not just by me, but by so many, and why this show is not, because this show doesn't take that reverence. And yes, when you're dealing with somebody else's work, you should hold it to some level of reverence. Me, especially, I hold it to this level of reverence because Lord of the Rings helped change and form me into the person that I am, fantasy, and made me love the fantasy genre. And this show doesn't do that. This show doesn't give a fuck about Tolkien's work. This show wants to take his work and make it theirs, because they're such lazy and uninspired writers that they can't make their own work. They can't. You could go right now and say, oh, you know what? We don't like the way Tolkien wrote elves. We're going to make our own elves. Ooh, make your own shit. But then no one, but what if no one, well then, if no one goes and watches your stuff, then that just speaks to the quality of your own product. Because all these people do is they pay so that they can have his name, his works. That is why people get mad. It's not, yes, it does boil down to certain things, like where they might be like, oh, well, there were no dark-skinned elves. That because Tolkien described them in a specific way. He's described them in a specific manner. So when somebody sees, you know, Don Lemon as one of the actors, I know it's not, but he does look like him a lot. But when they see that as one of the elves, they're gonna say, wait a minute, dude, that's not how he looks like. That's not how elves look like. That would be like me taking T'Challa and saying, you know what? I want him to look Puerto Rican. I want T'Challa to be Puerto Rican now. I want it. And they'll be like, whoa, dude, that's not how T'Challa looks like. And I'm like, I don't care. I need to see a Puerto Rican T'Challa. I need to see him be Puerto Rican, or I can't see myself in him. And you see how stupid that sounds? Because that's how stupid it is for you to say that I need to see myself in a elf or a dwarf or in things that are not fucking real. They're not real. They are created only by the imagination of the creator, Tolkien, or other people who make their works. And it's like, so why are you trying to take that person's work and change it to fit your crown? And that, I'm sorry. And I'm going on a little bit of a rant. I apologize. But that is, I didn't get a chance to really review the episodes individually. And now I'll go and I'll review them individually. But it's just such an ugly way to treat Tolkien's works. That's why out of the good, the bad, ugly, Rings of Power is that, because when I see what they're doing to his works, the perversion of it, the lack of care, it's so goddamn insulting, man. It's so fucking insulting. It's so ugly. It's so ugly. It's so wrought out of malice. You've got people sitting there saying, oh, well, he wrote this at a time where, dude, shut the fuck up. If you want to write something of fantasy, and then write something of your time, it's his work. It's his work. He wrote this. He spent the time doing this. You didn't. You don't have a right to jump in there and change this. That is where I like I've said, for example, you may have heard me say George Martin owes something to the fans, that he owes the fans. And I do. I believe that he owes the fans to finish his product, because his fans made him what he is. They made him as popular as he is. But Tolkien finished his product. He's done. He left it for us fans to read. It's like, okay, it's over. He doesn't owe us, obviously he's not alive, but he doesn't owe us have to change anything here, because those are his works. Just like I wouldn't go to Martin and say, I don't like the way you're depicting so-and-so character. I want Stannis to win right now. I want him to win right now. You owe it to me. You change everything that you have. You owe it to me. No. You owe me to finish your fucking work. I may not like where your work goes. I may not be a fan of how it ends, but it is your work, but you do owe it to me to finish it. And that is the problem with these people nowadays, with these shills and whatnot. They feel like that they own your work, your creative work. And it's so ugly to see that they feel like they could take Tolkien's works and say, I don't like the way he wrote that. I'm going to keep his name because I'm too much of a hack to make my own thing. So I'm going to take everything he made, right? But I'm just going to change a little bit. I'm going to change a little bit so that it kind of closely resembles mine, because again, I'm not inspired enough to make my work. So I'm just going to, alter it a little bit. It's ugly, and it's only going to get uglier unless we stop it. Amazon's already trying to put people to stop with their reviews, with they tried for a few days, like, are you kidding me? Oh, to stop trolls. No. You just didn't want people to immediately click and be like, dude, this is bad. And look at the reviews that are saying that it's bad. And anyone who sits here and says, oh, you're a troll. Dude, I've put like 20 minutes maybe into discussing why I think The Rings of Power is a terrible, terrible show. Clearly, it's not just some fucking 1 star, 1 word, this show bad. He's bad. Not even 3 letters. It's 3 words. It's just this bad. And not even spelled properly. DIS bad. No, I'm not doing that. I'm telling you why there are people who are far more detailed than I am. Shadiversity, Nerdrotic, Mauler, Critical Drinker, Heels versus Babyface. There are tons of channels who are taking the time, and I would love to sit down and do the same. And sometimes I can, and I will try my best too. But there are people with those channels that now listing reasons for you. We are not just blindly telling you that we dislike this show and just saying, why, when someone comes, why do you dislike this show? Why do you think this show is ugly? I just think it's ugly. No, we're telling you our reasons why, and you don't want to listen. You just want to sit there and say, oh, you're racist. Oh, you're sexist. What? No, dude, I'm telling you. No, I don't want to hear that. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, but, oh, you don't like Galadriel because she's a woman. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm telling you, I want you to show Galadriel the way Galadriel's shown. No, you're a sexist. But I just told you that I like Rhaenyra in this, and Princess Disa is probably the only good female character we've seen so far. No. That's what these people act like, these shills who protect these things. And there are tons of us telling you why we don't like it, and you are the one that are choosing. You are the ones that are choosing not to listen to it. That's why it's fucking ugly. So, sorry about that. I went on a really long unhinged rant, and it's been a while. It's been 2 weeks. I needed to vent. I needed to. I'm sorry. So, that's been the good. Just House of the Dragon. Please stay good. Please stay good. The bad, She-Hulk. There is no chance for this thing to get better. It really is no chance. Maybe Secret Invasion. I saw the trailer for it. It doesn't look like it's gonna get any better. So that's the bad. And the ugly. And unfortunately, the ugly is the most precious piece of fiction out there for me right now. And that's the Rings of Power, or rather, it deals with an adaptation to the most precious part of fiction out there for me. Something that has helped fundamentally change me when I was just a kid, made me open my eyes to fantasy settings and wanting to explore them and wanting to write my own stuff. And unfortunately, the ugly is Ring of Power. The Rings of Power it's a travesty. It's a travesty. So anyway, this has been the NYC Geek. If you enjoyed this content, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit it right now. Again, I apologize for that crazy rant that I went on, but it had to be said. Also, while you're at it, please consider hitting that like and that share button. Again, I also apologize for the maintenance stuff. We'll fix it. That freaking bell so you can know when another video goes live. Leave a comment down below. Leave it. I love to engage with all of you. I do my absolute best to chat with all of you. I try my best. Like, share, do all those things because it does help the channel grow. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. I know look. It's not the most massive number out there, but it means a lot to me. It means a lot for the channel, and I thank all of you for that. And again, if you haven't already, please make sure to follow me over on twitch.tv/TheNYCGeek, where I do stream regularly. I'm coming back. I didn't stream yesterday, but I will be streaming tonight, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and I will be streaming on Sundays. That schedule might change after Dragon Con. I'm not exactly sure, but for now, it's going to be that. As well as follow me on that filthy cesspool that is Twitter. Remember always, Twitter's gross. But remember always that your time is precious. I thank you all for sharing it with me. I truly do. Please stay safe. Take care of each other. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, I'll see you guys. Maybe the next video I post out should hopefully be for She-Hulk. So I will hopefully let you guys know then. Please, see you guys next time.